window open. But this is what Canva looks like. And so what Canva is, it's like a graphic design tool, obviously. You can design any type of graphic, and that just means any size you can do. If we go to the Create a Design button at the top of the homepage, this will be the button you use the most on this page. You can see a whole bunch of things you can design. These basically just specify the shape and the dimensions of the design. You know, an infographic is going to be tall and skinny. Instagram will be kind of a box. But you can do all these as you want. You can even do, we'll see that you can put like GIFs and animated things into these designs so that you can download them as GIFs. You can make videos, you can upload videos to these and then download a video with sound and all that. You can make like social media posts, logos, resumes, kind of anything that you want. The one thing we'll note as we get into this is Canva's best is like designing like composite graphic designs, you know, like combining backgrounds and text and images and kind of making a new design. It's not the best as, you know, taking a single photo and editing that. It's not a photo editing tool so much as it is building new designs from text and images like that. Let's see. So we'll just outline what we get in Canva free. So we'll just talk about you can design almost anything, any shape of the graphic. This is, I think, the Instagram size, this little box. But you can change the size when you go off and make things. Besides that, we also talked about you can get access to like free images and elements, GIFs, little videos, templates being like pre-made designs that we'll look at. And you get access to thousands or tens of thousands with those with the Canva free account. And that's the main difference, like I said, that I found with the free account and the paid account. When you get the paid account, you get access to like hundreds of thousands of things. Most of the tools you get with the free account, it's mostly the content that you can use that's kind of hidden behind the paywall. And we can kind of see this on the side. We'll talk about what all this is on the side in a couple seconds. But anytime we see this little pro like crown icon, that means it's content that we can only use if we have a paid account. So if I tried to use this, you need a Canva Pro account. But that's the main difference between the two. Besides designing and having access to like image galleries and things like that, one of the most useful things about Canva is that you can make teams on Canva. So you can invite multiple people to design, edit the same designs. You can send people like links to edit the same things you have. You can send links to people to not be able to edit what you've made, but just to view it and download it if you want. What we did today is I sent you basically a link to use a template, so you can send people that and they can get a copy of what you made. But it's really useful when you have a team, maybe a nonprofit or a business or any type of group, and you can't all be in the same building at once or something, or maybe you'll be on multiple laptops. You can all be co-designing the same exact graphic at the same time. So if I had someone on my team who I was designing this graphic with, I would be able to see them moving these things, adding text to this thing on my page at the same time. A lot like the Google Drive suite. You can collab at the same time. And then finally, what else Canva has? It obviously has some space to keep all the designs that you have. And also, anytime you upload a custom image, your own photos, your own logos, things like that, you won't only have them on the designs you make, but you'll kind of have them in a file system, just like Google Cloud. And all those things, all the designs, all the images, videos, and audio you upload. In the free account, you get 5 gigabytes free, which will be difficult to fill up depending on how much you use it. I'm not even close to filling up mine. And if you get the paid account, you can go beyond 5 gigabytes. I don't know how much it is beyond that, but 5 gigabytes is quite good with a free account. So we'll be designing in that handout, but what you would do in Canva when you begin on your own design, you come to the home page, a couple things to look at. On the left-hand side, we see like my team. I have me and someone else. I have 2 people on my team. If I go to my projects, I can see all the ones I've recently made, all my designs. I can see all the images that I've uploaded. That's that 5 gigabyte space that I talked about. If we click on this, we can see if I have any teammates and they sent me some designs that they made that I can get access to, we would see them in this point. We can see, again, my team and a way to invite people to my team. I can just add them by email and send an email invite. So this is kind of the stuff we can do on the home page. But again, the main thing we'll do is click on create a design. If you want to make a social media graphic, you'll pick which one, and then you'll get into the editing window. And again, this really is all just about the size. We call them Instagram posts, but it's really just 1080 by 1080. It's just a dimension thing, this. Okay. So in this class, we'll try to do all the basic kind of editing tools, see what and how we can do things. We'll go step by step and do like one tool at a time and then move on to the next one. So we won't make it too complicated, but I hope we'll hit most of the main ones and see a good example of how and when to use it. So we'll just be going kind of step by step, looking at text, images, how to move things, how to size things, all the stuff like that, see all the tricks to do it quickly. Because one of the main things about like a graphic editing tool is even if you know what you want to do and you know something can be done, it can be quite a hassle to do it if you don't know exactly how you should be doing it, and you have to do so many clicks to get something done, and you know that some way you must have some way of doing it quickly, but you just don't know how to do it. Okay. So begin. This is the design window. When you begin with a new blank one, you'll just see one blank box like this, one blank white box like this. But with any design, you can add multiple pages. And that would just make a multi-page social media post. If you want to design a PDF, it would just be a multi-page PDF. So from the beginning, we can just see that we can add kind of pages or slides, how you want to think of them. You can delete them. You can duplicate it in case you want to have the same kind of template on 2 slides and then just adjust the content. And then finally, we can just move them up and down if we want to put this slide down at the bottom and move something up. So that's kind of those main controls. But now let's get onto the page itself and begin to add some stuff to it and fill it up with content. So to begin, we'll just talk about like kind of the blank page, maybe putting a background on it, something like that. We can see let me go down this way. We can see when you begin a new page, it's just a white box to begin with. And you can do a couple things to kind of add a background to it. We'll see in a little bit at the end how you can just choose a pre-made design, all these things in the templates side. If you don't want to make something homemade, you can just grab any of these, but we'll look at those last because obviously the whole class is about doing it all yourself. So to make a background, we can do it a couple ways. One, we can just select on the box, and then we can just go up to this like rainbow background tool. We can just click on that, and then we can begin to change the background of the page like this. We can choose any of these kind of preset things. If we want to do something additional, we can get this whole, color wheel thing. If you have like a specific business with like a specific blue or something like that, this would be the place that you could type in like the hex code or something. If you have like a specific company, yellow and blue, this is the library blue, this hex code. But that's the basics of how to just put a black backsplash on the page itself. And then besides that, besides just doing, all blue, all yellow like that, we also have access to kind of like background, like textile type photos. So on this left-hand side, you might see backgrounds down this way. But if you don't see it, you might have to go to this tab at the bottom, the 3 dots, and then backgrounds might be in this side since you haven't used it yet. But then you'll just click on it and you'll get access to backgrounds. And then if you don't just want a plain background, you can just go to this and begin to browse what you want. Anytime we go to this side of the page, we'll kind of see some suggestions just kind of randomly strewn about. But we can always at the top type in something specific that we want to find. So if I want to find a specific type of design, in this case a background, I can just type it up top and then I can find it below. So say I want something that looks like this. I want that to be the background of my page. I can just use that. So that's the most basic thing, just how to do the background of the page. And then the next main thing is obviously like how to add text and things like that. And then beyond that, we'll look at elements, which is kind of like any type of image. But this is one of the 2 main things, text and then images. So if we go look at this, we can see that we can kind of add, like at this box, if we click on this box, we can see anytime we click on a text box, we get access to like all the usual text editing buttons. We can make things bold, italic, we can change text size. So to edit like a pre-existing text box like these ones, we can just kind of double click and then we can like highlight and then change it as we want. So we want to make a bullet, we can do that like that. We can do any of these things we want. We can change the size of the box if we want. If we click these 3 dots, we get some additional things. We can like auto caps it all, the underline option, things like that. And then we even have, as we think about not just putting text on a page, but kind of making like cool text, like these examples down below, you might want to play a little bit with like the spacing, and we don't have multiple lines, but the line spacing between new lines, things like that. That's the basics of kind of the text box itself. If we look at the text side panel, we want to add new text. We have these kind of blank options. We can add a heading, a subheading, some body text. All that these really do is just change kind of like the default size that comes on the page. This is default big and bold. This is small, so you can use those as you want. But then as we put it on the page, we can edit it any way that we want anyway. So if we want, we can go back to this backgrounds page, and we can just you can just go ahead and practice adding a text box. We can put some things in it as we go. Graphic design. You just double click to get into it, and then you can click outside of it to leave it. And then easy enough, you can just click on the box, and then you can use the little arrow tool to move it around. We can already see that Canva is pretty good about helping us lay out things. We can kind of see the lines that show us if it's in the middle of something. It has this kind of snap magnetic quality to help us line it up exactly in the middle that way, and then in the middle this way if we want. So that's really helpful. So we can just add some things to the page, like graphic design, and then Canva, and then things like that. We can go into this. Canva has a whole bunch of fonts laid out, but we can also look up fonts in like specific ways. Like we can look up a type of font by looking up, handwriting. We can look up bold if we want, all those types of things. Again, anytime that we see a crown like this, that means it's a paid exclusive, so we can't quite use those. And then obviously we can look up if we know a specific font by name, we can look it up that way. So we can change the font. Just like we could change the background of the page, we can use this little tool to change the text itself. So we can make this green like this. And then we have a couple special effects beyond these main tools that you might just use with some body text. If you want to make something fancy, we could go to the effects page, and that's going to be on the top of the page like this. And then we can see we can add all of these custom effects to any text box that we choose. So if we wanted to, if you want to make this stand out a little bit, we could add some shadow to it. We can see when I click that, we can see a tiny little bit of shadow pop up. But to really make it stand out, we'll just have to change what the actual shadow is. So we can change that to black, like that.
Matthew, can you just show how to grab it to pull it up? Because I don't see where the handles are to, like I added a subheading, but it's sort of stuck in the middle. How
yeah.
Would you, yeah.
So yeah, and yeah,
just in the middle?
Yep, just grab, you can just click on the box. And when you do, you should get these little tools down below.
No, I only have the up and, the circular thing. It doesn't do the, I don't see the other button. And I can't seem to move it. So, all right.
Well, you don't need this anyway. You can just click in the middle of the text box. Just click.
Which I am, and it's not, I'm not able to. Okay.
Is anything being changed on the page? You can add the text box, you just can't move it?
You just can't move it, yeah. There's no plus sign, yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't know what that is. You should be able to see it. Let me know if anything else.
That's why I asked, because I can't, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you should be able to. If anything else bugs you, let me know, but maybe that's just a one-off thing. Okay, so yeah, again, to do these special effects, we can click on effects. We added that backdrop. We can kind of change a couple things. If we want to make it really stand out, we can change how opaque that shadow is. It's a bit of a light background, so I might want to make this all the way black. And then we can change, how much it sticks out like this, which direction it comes from. I'll keep it, about the default. And then if I want to make it slightly fuzzy, I can use this tool. So as you get into using not just the shadow, but all of these, you'll kind of get used to these special options that you can use. And you just kind of have to play with them to see what they do and what looks best on the page, depending on the design that you want. If we want to add, we can add one last effect if we want. We added a shadow. Maybe we want to bend it a little bit. So down at the bottom of effects, we can click on this one. That'll bend it a little bit. And just like last time, we have just one slide tool to help us edit this effect. And we can just kind of change it like this. I'm just going to put a slight bend on it. And then maybe I'll come and just increase the size a little bit and just check that it's in the middle. And now that I have that, maybe I want to match this Canva box to all those effects that I just added to this graphic design box. I could, click on this box, go back to effects and add them all again, but I might not match it up exactly. I have to check all of the little facets that I used. So what we can actually do is if we click and select this graphic design box so that we can see the kind of selection box. If we go to the three dot symbol, we have this copy style button, this little paintbrush tool. And this is kind of like a copy and paste button, but instead of copying the whole graphic design text, it's just gonna copy the style like it says. So if we click on that, and now I click on Canva, it's gonna apply all the styles that I just did to this one as well. Because when we use Canva, we don't wanna do anything multiple times. If we don't have to, we don't wanna waste time. So a lot of what we'll look at today will help us save on time and efficiency and know, the best way to do something. So that applies. Yeah.
The comment box that's on the far right-hand side with this bubble, can you explain that?
Yeah, this thing. This comment box.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so like I said, you can add teams to this. So maybe you might have multiple people looking at the same design, maybe even at the same time, but maybe you'll edit something and then someone else on the team is going to come into that same design and see what you did. So what a comment is, we can just say like, hello teammate. And basically what a comment is, just like with Google Drive, if you use that, any of those type of commenting systems, it's just a way of adding like a temporary note to the design file without having to put anything on the design itself. So if I want to leave a note to my teammate, please edit this image, it's just a way of leaving notes on the side of the design without getting in the way of it. So it's just kind of like a post-it note on the side. And then once you finish with these comments, you can just leave them when you finally post this design, or maybe you'll download it. The comments won't get in the way at all, but if you want to, you can also delete them. So it's just exactly what it says. It's a commenting kind of chat function that you can talk to teammates and leave messages. So that's useful with teams in mind. Okay. And then finally, just to finish out this, I copied this style to this one. It's kind of difficult to tell, but what it copied everything, so it still has the slight bend to it. So I copied most of it, and that's going to save me a lot of time. But then I can just come back down and undo the one thing that I didn't want it to do. I want it to be flat, and then maybe I want Canva to be biggest. So I can just make this slight change, but I can use that copy style tool to kind of save me a lot of time and not do things multiple times like that. So that's how we can kind of make homemade text, and we can play with those effects to see, what we can make. But if we take a look at page 5 and we take a look at the text side panel, we can see just below adding like the blank text boxes to the page, we have a lot of options. It looks like little text boxes, and we can look at these and any one that we want to use, as long as it's not like a paid one. If we don't have a paid account, we can just click on the one that we want to use. And then we basically get a text box in that exact style. So if I want to do graphic design Canva in this font, I can just choose that. And then it's just a text box. I can just edit it as I want. Graphic design in Canva. And that doesn't really match it because it's yellow on yellow. But you see what you can do. You can browse all of these as you want, see ones that match what you want to do. So you don't have to make everything homemade. You have all these font choices and coloring and effects options. You can just browse these endlessly. That kind of keeps going all the way down. You can use those as much as you want instead of making it all homemade. All of these do the same thing. So all of these we could make homemade with all of these tools that we use up above and the effects and a couple of things we'll see today, but you don't need to waste the time, inventing the wheel again. So that's the basics of text. Text is pretty easy. Now we'll get to kind of elements, which is all the images and the little designs and things like that, which will be kind of the most of the class. So if we look on the side panel of the Canva website, we can see one of the options is elements. We can go ahead and click on that. And this is going to give us a huge array of things like just like basic shapes and elements if you want to design something like that. It includes things like full-on, actual photos. So you can browse that. And then as always, you can kind of look up specific things. All of these images, except this one and this one, you can use in Canva. You can just click it and use it, download it, put it on your website, post it on social media. So a lot of it is open access even to free accounts. So we got graphics, we got photos. It comes with some videos. And anytime you add a video to a design, basically you'll just have to then download it or post it as a video, but that's okay because you can do that. If we keep going, it looks like we have some audio clips, so you can make full videos. Some of these things, like these guys, we'll take a look at in a little bit. But even beyond these, even beyond the elements page, we have things like if we go to Jiffy, and if you don't see Jiffy on the side, you might just need to go to that 3 dots option, and it might be in this box, Jiffy. And you can see you have like Bitmoji and things like that. But again, just additional content. It's just free to use. You can pop it on the page and we can design anything we want like that. Oops. Okay. So if we take a look at this, when we make designs, what we use a lot, what I use a lot, is just kind of like basic shapes. Say you might use these as like backgrounds or like drop shadows to things. You might use it to point from text to images, things like that. That's up to you. But once we have some elements on the page, we can just use the ones that I have now. We can do a lot of things with them. We'll see how we can resize and skew them, flip them, change them, copy and paste them. So just like text, anytime we want to select an element, we can just click on it, just like we could click on text. And we'll see when we click on text, we saw all the text editing tools up at the top. But when we go to element, we get some new tools at the top. So we'll see with something like this, obviously we don't have to keep it plain white. We can change it to anything we want, just using the color picking tool on the side. We'll see a little bit in the next couple of slides. We can easily resize things, and these handles, we see these in a lot of image editing websites and tools, so those might be not so new to you. But we can resize, we can move it. We can use the spin tool to flip it upside down. If we want, we can use the flip tool up at the top if we want to, have it pointing that way, or, any way that we want. So we can use those. But the thing we'll notice as we add elements to the page and things like that, we won't always have the same options. So if we look at this, I have these options. But now when I go to this little GIF, I lose some of the options. So while I can still flip it if I want, it looks like it's stuck being white because I lost my color changing wheel. So with like these kind of basic designs, we can often edit them kind of fully. But when it comes to like GIFs and photos, obviously some things will be quite limited as to what we can do. But we can always do the basic things like move it, size it, all of those things. Okay. In addition to all of these elements that you can use free on the side, you can also upload your own images. So if you have like JPEGs or PNGs, any type of image file, if you want to make a video post, you can upload movie files, audio clips. And we can do that on the side by using the Uploads tab. We can see all of these I've uploaded. You won't be able to see these because it's on my account. This is all I have uploaded. So if I go on to my next couple designs, I'll always be able to see these. And things like these, like company logos, I might use again and again. So this will be convenient. But when you want to add new ones, you can just click Upload Media, and you'll get the Browse File box. You can also just drag and drop some things into this box. If I click like this, you can see I can add a new image file to my Canva. Oops, 1 second. A window just got moved. So you can add any of your own stuff to Canva. One thing I'll note is that you want to be cautious when you upload images, like what type of images you'll upload. If you look at what I have on the side, I have like 2 logos. They look basically the same, but this one is a JPEG And this one is what's called a .png file. And basically the difference between them is a JPEG has to have some background. So it's always going to be like a white box, maybe like a photo like this. But a PNG can be have transparency to it. So if I want a nice, clean logo like this, that's not going to be like an ugly white box on the page, I'll have to upload a PNG. One of the things that the Canva Pro account has is that you can, I think if you go to this, yeah, we can see the little crown next to this option. You can remove the backgrounds of this so we can make this into this with Canva Pro. Since we don't have that, we have plenty of tools on the web that we can use to do the same thing. One that I like is this website. It's a free website. We can just drag and drop an image onto this. If I can do that. Oops. I can just add my images, and then you can see I can immediately get a transparent image. So that's always a useful tool to have a good website that can do that, and one that you don't need to pay to use. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you upload images. Just make them as nice quality as possible, and maybe a transparent background. When we have photos and images on the page, we can do some things besides just moving them about. We can crop them if we want. So if I'll just show you again. If I select my image, I get the options available to this specific image, so I can crop it. And then I can choose, maybe I just want the middle of it. You just use the little size handles on the size to pick exactly what section of it that you want. You just click the done button, and then you can edit the image as you want. But like I said, editing specific images is kind of a Photoshop tool capability. Canva is really about making composite designs. So this is kind of the limitation of Canva. They do have a couple like Instagram-like settings that you can apply to photos and things like that. And you can, click see all to see all of them. But again, yeah, quite limited if that's the kind of thing that you want. If you want to practice, you can, grab this image if you want. If it's too small on the screen, you can always use the little zoom thing at the bottom, the zoom slide. And then we'll just move until that's in the middle of the page. And then maybe we have this image, but we want to do, something like crop out the name. So it's just the logo. So we just have to line that up, click done, and then we get a whole new second image if we want like that. Okay, yeah, so that's the basics of uploading images. That won't be too difficult. And then once you have the images on the page, it's really the same as all the element tools that we'll continue to look at now. Okay, so now that we know how to put things on the page, we know how about text elements and images. Obviously, the plan now is to be able to add a whole bunch of stuff to a page, move it, resize it, group it in bunches, things like that. So we'll be doing a lot with selecting elements and being able to move them intelligently and not getting, stuck and getting frustrated. So we can practice now, like we've been doing. To select an element, you just click it. We can see when I put my mouse above something, I get this kind of blue outline, so I can know that's an element. If we look this way, we can see each of these boxes is its own text box. If I want to move something, I can just move it like that. And we can see the kind of snap grid like I talked about. If I want to move, say all of these boxes up to the top, it'd be relatively easy in Canva to do that. As I move it up, it kind of stays locked in alignment with this bottom one. And then I could move all of these up. And then as I move it, I can use those snap lines to keep these lined up and keep these lined up. But then I might have a little bit of an issue when I want to move these up to know exactly how big, this gap is between the top and bottom row, because I don't have that alignment tool. So the best way to move a lot of elements at once is we can actually select multiple elements at once and then do anything we want to them in sync. So we could do that in two ways. One way is if we just click and hold the mouse, we can see we get this kind of like selection box. So we just click and hold. And then as I put it on top of elements, it kind of selects them. We can see they get a little box around them. And all I have to do is just select all of them at once. And then we can see it looks like I have like a group selection on these. And now all I have to do is just move it up in sync and they all stay in alignment like that. So that's one way you could do it. And that might be the most useful way. But a second way you can also do it is you can click an element. And then what you can do is hold the shift key. And then as you hold shift and click on new elements, you can add them to a group selection like this. So if I only want to move 3 elements, I could shift, click all of those and move them. And then if I just want to add the last one, I just hold shift and click that one. And then I can move them all in alignment too. And then in addition to moving them all at once, if I have a whole design on my page and I want to slightly increase the scale, maybe make it small, it'd be a pain to minimize them all. So now that I have a group selection, I can do that at once to all of them. So we can do that. If we can see the difference between this minimizing and this minimizing. I'm kind of minimizing from the middle instead of from one side. And the way that we can do that, if it's useful to you while designing, is if you just hold, instead of the shift key, the alt key this time. If we hold the alt key, we can kind of minimize and increase it from the middle. But if I don't hold the alt key, it just kind of pulls it to the side that I'm pushing it to. So that might be useful if you want to keep some things in the middle, but you just want to slightly adjust the size. So that way you don't have to minimize it and then line it back up. So you can do it that way as well. Let's see, all of these tools, we'll talk about a lot of ways to do a lot of things. You only have to know one way, the way that makes the most sense to you. A lot of tricks to do things special ways. And it'll be a while until you can kind of think of them on the spot, but you always have this handout to come back to. Something else we can do, we noticed as we moved all of these about the page, we kind of have this snap grid effect. So as I move things, it kind of like is magnetic and makes it go into the spot. It's a little bit twitchy how I can move things. And if I don't want that, what I can do, is if I hold down the control button while I'm holding and moving an object, I can kind of move it smoothly at this point. So if I don't want things to be lined up exactly, and it's a little bit difficult to move it the way that I want, all I have to do is hold the control key down, and then I'll have a nice smooth movement. If I want things to be, not be so exactly lined up. So that's one last tool you can use when kind of moving things and lining them up. Besides moving and scaling, we obviously have the spin tool like this. And then we can also do things like if we want to change these boxes to blue, we can also do that with an all selection. So if I select all of them, now I can change all of them at once if I want. And I can also do something like maybe I'll change one of them and now I want to match it to all of these. So what I can do again is I can use that copy style button and then I can just paste that style onto the rest of them like this. So you got 2 ways to do that if you want. And we actually have one last way that we could do it, which we'll use again in a little bit. But we can click on an element, go back to the change color button. We can pick a new one. But then we see at the bottom of this side of the page, we get this little change all button. And if we go ahead and click on that, that's going to find all the elements on the page the same shade of green. It's going to find all of those that match it and change it the same way that we did. So if we just click on something, we have matching elements on the page. We can change one, and then we automatically get the option to change everything matching on the page as well. So it's 3 ways that you can kind of select multiple objects. As we'll see in a little bit, you might have a lot of objects on the page that all have the same color palette, and it could be a little bit difficult to select them all. So that change all button is really useful.
I have a quick question. If you
Yeah.
use the copy style, is it only for that specific slide, or that like how would you copy that in another slide, or
Oh yeah, that's a good
whatever?
question. So if I let me put like a matching element on this page. So if I let's see, if I change this one to blue, I can copy that, and then I'm allowed to apply the style to a different page. And then I can, let's see what happens if I change this element and then change all. It looks like it changes not only on the page, but anything on the design, any of the pages. So when I used this change all button, it changed this one. And if I had anything else on this slide, anything else in the slides of the same exact color, it looks like it might change that as well. So it looks like that's kind of a global tool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you have to then insert a new slide first if you wanted to copy and paste that specific one? Because it looks like you can't use the style without having another, like without having a slide already.
Yeah, to copy style, you need to paste that style onto something. You can also just Control-C, Control-P on anything. So if I Control-C on this, I can paste a copy. I can come down to this and paste a copy again, if that helps answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so next I have, this is just a practice place to practice kind of like multiple selection, because it could get quite difficult as we get a lot of elements on the page. As you see, as I mouse across this, it looks like we have almost a dozen elements on this page. We have things stacked up all like that. And when it comes to moving things, it can be difficult to kind of grab things when we have things on top and below them. So as an example, if we want to move this stack across the page, what we might try doing is doing that click and drag to select these guys. But then when I try and move it, we can see I also grabbed the things beneath them as well. So when we get a lot of things on the page, it becomes evident that we need these kind of Canva tricks to be able to do things. So we could do 2 things. One, we could just use the click and hold shift method to just get the 3 elements that we want, and then we can move them. But we could also do something like this. We can click and drag and select these. We can see it selected a bit too much. But now what we can do, now that we have a selection of these, 5, 6 elements, we can hold down on the shift key and click on the things that we want to deselect. So you notice as I clicked on those things, they kind of vanished from the selection. And now I can just move the things that I want. So again, to do that, you can just click, drag what you want. We have too many things, this blue box and the grid behind it. Then we can just click shift, unselect the grid. We still have the blue box selected, and we can unselect the blue box. And then we can see we finally just have what we want. We can do the same thing with this. We will usually see things like text on top of some background element. This one's not as difficult. We can just kind of click and drag until it looks like we got what we want. And then we can see we just got these 2 elements, and we can move those as we want like that. So you'll get used to it as you kind of add elements to the page. It'll get a little dense as you have something like this, being able to grab and control what you want. but we can always just use all these tools to make it easy because we don't want to do things, painstakingly one by one and then have to line it all back up. We want to use those like intelligent tools. Let me zoom back in so you can see this. Okay, so in addition to selecting multiple objects at once, sometimes we have, like with this design, we have a group of elements that we might want to move about the page a couple times as we kind of settle on the design. So we want to kind of group them in a way that keeps them in a multiple selection. If we take a look at this, this is actually made of a couple elements. It's made of this background gray box, a white box, a Monday text box, a one text box, an introduction to graphics text box, and then all of these are its own element as well. But you can see when I just click and drag on it, it's all kind of grouped in one selection. So I kind of like lock them in some composite element. But I'm still able to, edit it as I want. I just kept them kind of in sync like this. So the way that we can do that, if we have something like this and we want to kind of move the whole thing across the page, we know that obviously we can just select all and move it as we want. But if we want to kind of lock these in place relative to this group of elements, what we can do is come up to the 3 dots button, and then we have this group option. If we click on that, we can see that kind of all the multiple selection boxes went away and it looks like one big element now. And that's exactly what it did. It kind of locked them in one big element. So now as I grab any point of this, it moves the whole thing in sync. I can kind of resize it in sync like this, but I'm still able to like edit the text if I want, things like that. So that's really useful when you have one little group of elements on the page that will always be kind of relative to one another where you can use that tool. And then when you want to undo that, if you want to kind of change it up again, all you have to do is select on this, go back to the 3 dots, and then instead of group, we have ungroup now. So if we want to undo that, we can undo it. And now we can, maybe change up the design if we want. Maybe we want this on this side. And you can see this is a little finicky with that snap grid. So again, I can maybe hold control to be able to finesse it as I want, put it like that. And then maybe I can come back and kind of group them in one big image like this. And now I have a new design and it's easy to move it about the page and easy to edit because I don't need to reselect all of it all the time again.
How do you bring things to the front or the back? So that yellow signal strength thing that you have, it seems like you have it behind the phone.
Yeah, so you can see, as you get multiple
like that
elements on the
bottom
page,
dot is hidden.
Yeah, so like if I move it back this way, all of it is hidden now.
Right.
That's a good question. That is in 2 slides, so we'll get to that in one second.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's a good question. Just one last thing. It's kind of like grouping. If we take a look at this design, as I mouse across it, we can see a whole bunch of stuff on the page. And this is actually a template I got off of Canva. So this was the design that Canva gave me, and then maybe I just want to edit these text boxes to be my own thing. But it can be kind of difficult to kind of, you can see as I try to just like select and highlight the text boxes, it's a little difficult. So instead of kind of like grouping all the back elements or grouping the text boxes, or even selecting just the text boxes, what I can do is lock elements in place so that as I edit and move things about the page, they kind of become like invisible to my selection tool. So let me show you what I mean. So you can see like right now, if I try to like move some of the things, I have a lot of stuff on the page. But what I can do is I can kind of select everything on this page. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift click to unselect the things I don't want. And then what I can do is instead of the group option, I'm going to use this little padlock, which is the lock option. And when I click that, that's going to kind of lock all those selected elements in place. So now when I come back to this, I can easily just select kind of the things that I want live on the page. And all of these kind of background images, I can't really do anything with them right now. So that really helps me edit the page if I want stuff in the background. It's not messing with the top stuff. And then again, we can just unlock things if we want to kind of undo that. Just like group, we can ungroup it. Okay, yeah, so position. So as we get elements on the page, we can see like this design makes sense. We have like two little like intranet windows, a message and a mouse. But as I'm adding elements to the page, they can maybe get jumbled up and not show up in the sequence that I want. So we have tools to be able to kind of bring something up, send something to the back, things like that. So if we just select on an element, maybe this pink box, what we need is the position option. So we can go to position, click on that, and now we can see the options that would make sense. If we want to bring it up, we can click on this and you can see the white W vanishing as we bring it in front of the welcome. And if we click it again, it brings it all the way to the front in front of the green sign like that. And if I undo it, you can see what I have done. In this example, it might make sense to select the two things that I want, and then I can move them both in sync. So I can select the pink window and the welcome sign, that I can move them all at once. And then finally, not only can you move things kind of up and down on the page, you can also use the second half of the align toolbox. You can use these align elements page, align elements buttons. So if I want, I can click on these ones and you can see it's aligning these two elements relative to those selected. So if I undo this, you can see I can put this on the right, I can put it on the left, put it on the top. So it's kind of like an auto alignment tool to help you. Even though you have that magnetic snap grid, this really helps you move things about. So I can use this to put this in the middle like that. And then finally, I just have to move this mouse up. It's a little difficult to get to this mouse, just the way it kind of showed up on the page. I could kind of struggle to just put my mouse on top of it. But what I could do, you can see on the side of all the notes, what I can do is I can hold Control down. And then as I keep clicking, I'm going to kind of select an element behind a second one. So if I hold Control and click like this, I can get the mouse even though it's not visible. Oops, let me do that again. And now that I have that selected, even though I couldn't see it, now I can pop it up all the way like that. So play around with these things, a lot of options with position, but it's quite simple, just like a physical scrapbook. You just put things on top of one another, send it to the back, stuff like that. And this is also when that idea of locking things in place comes in handy. Not only do you have to like align things and group things, but you have things stacked on top of each other. So it's nice to just have things kind of in the background, completely out of the way so the clicks don't mess with it. Okay. So now that we've looked at most of the main tools. We looked at text, we looked at elements, we know how to move them, size them, skew them, change them like that. So now that we know how to do it all homemade, we can now begin to use the pre-made designs that Canva gives us. So if we look on the left-hand side, we can just go to templates. And all the template is it's just some pre-made design that someone made, some combination of text and elements that we can use as we want. So we can see just some example ones. We can click this one if we want. We can even see it kind of intuitively took my existing text box and made it into the style of this template. And it also gave me this kind of background image, this little image, the alignment of the text boxes, things like that. If we just have kind of a blank one, it'll just give me the template exactly as it comes. You can see this is a video with some text on top. And then we can just, edit this as we want. And then it becomes my own template, my own design from the template. It's not much to look at in this besides the breadth of the content. You can look up, anything you want, depending on what type of business or what type of post design you want to do. You can look at specific types of business, depending on how you want to make posts. You could look at, holidays, if you want to make seasonal things, specific types of templates. So that's just something you have to get into, and depending on what you need, you can look it up, grab what you need. Again, a lot of the stuff will be kind of locked behind a pro account, but just as much stuff will be freely available. Okay, couple last tools to look at. I know it's time now, and if you need to go, that's okay, but we just have a couple last things we'll squeeze in to really get the basics down. So we've looked at kind of matching elements by selecting in like copy style. And we'll look at one last example of kind of applying a mask style to a design. So with this half of the template, this is a template that I found in this side, all these little logos, these text boxes, and these little design tools. So this is all given to me, and it was all given to me in this kind of like salmon pink palette. So when I get it, I might want to change it all myself to match like my business design. So we know we can change a single thing, we can copy a style and maybe apply it like that. That's still a couple of steps. So we'll look at some additional tools beyond all we've looked at to kind of mass apply changes. So if we go on the left-hand side, if you don't see styles, again, it might be hidden in the three dots option. But if we go to styles, we see what this is it's kind of like paint palettes and font styles. So we can see we have all these available. We can kind of pick a nice pre-designed palette. And anytime I select one, it's going to apply the palette across my design. And it's going to change all my text to match the font that came in that little package. And you can browse and see what you want. You can see down at this side, we can apply it to all pages if we want. Right now, it's just applying it to my one page, which is good. But if you want to apply it across pages, that you can do that just as well. And again, we know if we do something like that, we change this one thing. This is all kind of the same hues. So if I want to change all, we can see I can begin to just change one element to kind of match everything on the page as I change it like this. So I have a whole bunch of tools to do the same thing, and it just depends on what's convenient to you in the situation. Real quick, we'll look at frames. Frames is a specific type of element. So if we go back to elements, we have all these kind of boxes and arrows and things, photos, GIFs. One of the options down by the bottom is a frame option. And you can click see all to see what comes with these options. I have these two, and you have things like laptops, tablets, and PCs. If you have like a business and you want to like show a website on these, you have these ones, you have some alphabetical ones. But what a frame is it's kind of like a magic element. You can go find an uploaded photo, you can find a photo from Canva, you can click and drag to use it. And then you'll see, if I just dropped it on the page, it just kind of shows up by itself. But if I click and drag it into the frame, it's kind of like magically resize and kind of be embedded in that frame like that. So that's a really nice way of displaying content like that. So that's just available with frames like that.
Is that how you do the mill?
Yep, that's how you do the mail. So if you go to, we'll look inside of it now. We can see we have all these options. All this kind of landscape design will get replaced by any photo that you put into it. And all the way down at the bottom, you have like the whole alphabet. At some point. And then you can just take any image you want and kind of pop it into it just like that. So it's the same idea as these ones. So I do like these a lot, especially like these ones. They look quite nice. One last technique we'll look at is like making like custom drop shadows and things like that. We saw how to make drop shadows with text, but sometimes we'll want to put a drop shadow on something like an element. So we might want something like this. We have like the basic design on the front, and then this kind of like gray shadow behind it to the side, and even inside of it, because it has transparency. Looks quite nice. It gives it like a little floating look like that. So let's take a look at how we can do it, how we can do that. If we can see the reason that we do it, it's not only to make it pop, but sometimes we want to make some things stand out. This white little notepad, it's white on white, so it doesn't really stand out. I could, change the page itself to something else, but if I want to keep it white, we can do this little trick. And really all this effect is it's basically a duplicate of this element behind it that we made gray and then kind of hid behind it. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So we'll zoom in on this and we'll just go step by step. So one, I can just Control C and then Control V to copy paste. I can also, I think we have a duplicate option. Yeah, this little one is going to be a copy and paste button. So we can see I have two of these side by side. I'm going to take the new one that I just made. And what I can do is I can just change it all to black. I can all white, all gray, anything you want. Make it like that. And then what I can do is I can use the position tool to send it back. And we can see I kind of have half of it already done, just like that. And then one last thing we can do is, again, we'll grab onto that back one. And this little like chest design, we can click on that. And this changes the opacity. So I can pull this down, to like 20-ish. And that makes it look like a nice shadow. That's why I chose black. You can choose gray. If it's on black, you can choose white like that. And now we have a nice drop shadow. And then the last thing we can do that we know how to now is, obviously, if we want to move this about, it might be a good idea to select both of these, the actual image and its shadow, and just kind of group them as one. So now I can move this on my page. I can size it as I want. And now I have it nice and complete and easy to use. So that's how we can use the transparency option. And we can use that, I believe, with anything. You can use that with text. You can use that with any type of element itself. But in this case, we used it just to do the shadow behind it. Okay, we'll just wrap up with a couple last things. This one we won't do, but one thing Canva is good at doing is things like infographics. If we take a look at the elements page, back on the main page, we see one option is we have like tables, and then we have like a graph type option. And we can put homemade data into Canva. So if we look at these existing graphics that I have, we can see that we can input data. We can change kind of what this looks like. As usual, we can kind of change the look of it. We can do things so we can toggle like the labels and things like that. If we take a look at this like complicated one, we can put a whole bunch of data on it. We can even pull it from Google Sheets if you don't want to type it all in again. But we can see we can edit all of these data points, fill in the labels as we want. Go to the settings, you can kind of toggle on and off what you want to see. And we have a whole bunch of these. We have these slide things, the graphs. We can do like these type of things when it's showing like how many, of a subset. So we could say, so many people like that. If we take a look at like a finished infographic template, this is a blank Canva design that I made. And then this is a template just given to me. So we can see we can do all these kinds of things and make those cool infographic type things. You have all these pre-made designs available to you, so you don't even have to do too much. You would just have to choose what you want to do. And then you just come in and edit the specific data that you want to display. So we could do that as well. And then we would just change, obviously, the size of the canvas coming into a new project, because infographics usually come on this like long, skinny one. Okay, last thing. In addition to all that we've done, we've obviously seen a couple times GIFs and videos and audio clips. So we can have that. And then if we downloaded them and used it on social media, they would kind of automatically be GIFs and videos. When you go to the download button up at the top, you can kind of choose which file type. In this case, we could choose a video if it's a kind of a long clip and it has sound. If it's just a couple slides and it doesn't have any sound, you can just make it into a GIF. And if you just have like a plain old social media post, a plain old something else, maybe an infographic, you can maybe choose a PDF or a PNG. But in addition to just kind of putting videos on the page, we can also animate a page by itself. So if we like grab any element, we can see we have its usual stuff. But one of the ones we haven't looked at yet is this animate option. So if we click on that, we can apply a like specific animation to an element. And then when you download it and post it to social media, you can animate a whole thing like that. We can also, if we want, kind of animate a whole page in mass to kind of apply the whole animation. So instead of clicking on an element and animating it, I can just deselect everything by clicking to the side. And then if I click animate, I can kind of animate the whole thing at once. So it's going to animate all those text boxes up at the top. One thing I'll just note is if I keep showing this, you can see the top element looks quite smooth. But the second element, you can tell that it's made of a couple pieces. And you can tell when you animate it, especially on that last one, you can see the little triangle at the bottom coming in by itself. So all you would have to do in this situation, like I did, is just group all the elements so they get animated in sync. If I ungroup this top one, and then I go back to animate, we can see even that top one now has that kind of glitchy look. You can kind of play with those. You get access to most of the animations. I don't think any of these are locked right now. I think they have a few paid only ones, but I don't actually see it. So maybe they opened up all of them. But you can play with that as well. And they even have specific like text typing animations. You can animate text and then you can animate elements any way that you want. And then you have a homemade video and it's quite easy to make these. Okay. Okay, so this we talked about at the beginning actually, but I'll just mention it again. Now that I'm in a design, I can click on this button up at the top, the share button, and then we can see all the people that have access to it. I own it, and we can see I can give my team permission to view it. And then if I want, I could add a colleague, send them a message, and then when I click send, they'll get an email invite to be able to, in this case, have access to edit this alongside me. But I can also just give them view access, so they can't touch my design, but they can't see what I'm doing like that. So we can do that as well. Some things that the paid Canva account has, it has things like insights. If you let people, if you post the link to designs, you'll be able to see how many people come and view it. If we look next to the download button on the three dots, you have things like you can schedule posts to be automatically uploaded to social media when you want. So you can schedule them so you don't have to be in Canva the moment you want it to be uploaded. You can just say, upload this Monday at noon, this Tuesday at 2 p.m., things like that. You can, I guess this is on the unpaid account, on the free account. I haven't used this myself. Looks like you can just link Instagram and Facebook. And then instead of downloading these designs and then uploading them on Instagram, you can just log into Facebook and Instagram in Canva, and then you just click the publish button and it gets booted right to it. So a lot of cool stuff you can do with it, especially if it's a social media kind of hub to you. And then the last thing.
When you had clicked on download,
Yeah.
it showed that it was paid only. Are you not able? It says download with Canva Pro or pay and download. So you have to.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to mention that. So we saw, like, when we looked at templates, if we see like a Pro one only, I can't even use that. But some elements in designs, when you add them, you can use the template. But you see this little Canva thing. This means that this specific element, this box, is a paid element. So when I go to download it, since I'm on a free account, it's telling me all of these specific elements cost money. So if I deleted this one, and it looks like a lot of them come on this page, if I deleted all of these, now we can see I'm freely able to download the whole thing like that. It's just if you happen to get a paid only element, you need to kind of buy that specific element, which is like $1 a piece, which is a bit high. You can switch to a paid account. But to do that, avoid that, you can just switch out some elements if you accidentally get a paid one.
And can you show us if how to start? You showed us how to like add a page to this, but how do you start like a brand new file? Like
Okay, yeah, I'll do that. I just want to mention, now that we just talked about paid accounts, if I happen to have a paid pro account, but I actually don't pay because people in education, including people who teach and students, and anyone in some type of nonprofit business, social good nonprofit business, you can apply on Canva via the special links to get a free paid account. So you can get all the pro templates and elements if you happen to be teaching, student, or a nonprofit. And you can also invite up to 10 people to be on the same team as you, and they get the paid pro account without needing to pay. So just in case anybody, that applies to anyone teaching, nonprofit, definitely just apply and hopefully they'll accept you, and then you'll get the full access to Canva without needing to pay. But to make a design from scratch, obviously we began with a new template, but this is the Canva homepage. Once you log in, again, we can see my projects, and we can see what we just looked at, all my previous ones, all my images that I've uploaded via upload images. And this main button, create a design, you can just click on that. We just choose what kind of dimensions that we want. If I'm making a Instagram post, I can just click on this. And then we get back to the same design setup, and we just get a blank page. So what you might do when you begin a blank project, blank design, you might just begin with a template. Then you can add pages like we've been doing. If you want to label them, you can. And then, you just go from scratch at that point. But all you need to do is just use that create a design button. Okay, I know we ran a little bit past. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to stick around and help answer them. If you want me to go back to the handout and show you how to do something again. Let's see. If no questions, I hope it was helpful. It's a really nice tool. I like it a lot. It's, like I said, it's useful if you want to have some type of social media approach to a business or group. And it's definitely a good way to kind of handle it as a team. You can set up teams, give people access to designs. You can have multiple people on the same design. And then you can just link up Facebook and Instagram and just post it from Canva itself.
Hey, Matt, it's Bill.
Yeah.
Could you repeat the locking elements once more?
Yeah, locking and unlocking.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Feature. I understood everything else. Everything was great. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, yes. So let's go back to this slide. Okay, yes, unlock to begin with. Yeah, so let me look at this again. So this is, so we know what grouping is. You can group things and then move them all at once. But sometimes, yeah, we want things kind of hidden in the background. So if I'm trying to edit this pre-made design to have my specific messages, it's a little difficult to, grab onto just like the text boxes that I want to get because you have so much going on this page. So what we can do is just to select what I want to lock, I can just select all in this case. And then if I hold shift, I can unselect the few things that I don't want locked, mainly these text boxes. So now we can see all of this I have in my selection tool. And then if I go up to the lock, now they kind of get frozen in the background. I can't select them, I can't move them. And now I can easily do what I want with the unlocked items like this. And then let's see. And then when you want to unlock, you can just select onto kind of the locked element, and then you just click the unlock button, and then you can get access to everything again. And then I guess I'll point out while we look at this, the way they made this design, this school like this, what it actually is, you can see that it's obviously grouped because we have the ungroup option. So what they've done is they just have 6 text boxes back to back to back, and they just change it from red to green like that, and then they just glued them in a line like that. So that's how they made that design while I'm looking at it. And then they just locked it to kind of keep it in place like that. And that's actually what a lot of these text boxes, these pre-made ones, if we go to the text boxes, a lot of this stuff, like this menu one, we can see it has like menu items, description, and costs on the side. But all it really is just a bunch of text boxes that have been grouped. And if I ungroup them, we just see all that they did to make these was just arrange so many individual things and then just lock it in place. But luckily, they just give it to you pre-made like that. But that's how they did it, and that's how we know how to do that now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Rachel. I have another question. This has been really wonderful and helpful.
Yeah.
If you're making slides or a PowerPoint from some of these images, is it best to, first of all, is that a good use of Canva if you want to use specific images, or you want to make something, more interactive, or have a variety of elements? And then if you are going to use that as a slide, are you able to edit them once you either put it into Google Slides or PowerPoint, or it's once you transfer an image or download it or upload it, then it is what it is after it leaves Canva?
Yeah, so let me show you. So if we go to the home page, one of the options actually is, we don't just have to make a post or something. One of the options is kind of a unique presentation type design. You mean like a presentation slideshow?
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah, so you can see they kind of have a special mode to do that. You can add slides, but then just like all we've been looking at, you can add elements, add text boxes, animate it, things like that. But then if we look up at the top, they have like a presentation mode. You can kind of show it from Canva like you would have like a Google Slides presentation mode. But if you wanted to like download the file, I think I just looked at this a while ago. Let me just add something. I think when you download it, it doesn't have the option to like download it as like a .PowerPoint or like a .Google Sheets. So it's gonna just download it as like a PDF. It looks like it's the best option. So yeah, once you download it and stick it in Drive, it's just a static file at that point. You can always come back to this original file, edit it, and then re-download it, but you can't edit it once you take it out in Google Sheets itself, looks like.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, any last questions? I'm free to stick around. If anyone has any questions about like specifically how to like make a team and like invite people and that kind of thing, you can let me know.
One last question.
Yeah.
Are you able to give us access to the recording, or how will we get a hold of it?
Yeah, so I'm gonna, as soon as it's being taped, I'm gonna upload it to the library YouTube channel as soon as it downloads and all that. It takes a while. And then I'll go ahead and email everybody in the class today with the link itself so that you know exactly when it's uploaded. So I'll let you know when it's available.
Since you've already shared the template
Yeah.
that has sort of the how-tos on almost every slide,
Yeah.
once it's been shared once, do we always have access to it? Or if you'd like disable access, then we can't go back and look at those notes?
Yeah, so what a template is, we saw, let me go back. So like when you have a design, you can send it to specific people, but you can also just grab links. So people can have an edit link, and when you have an edit link and invite people to edit, that means you both have access to the same file. So in that case, if I gave my teammates access to a file that I have, but then I deleted it or I revoked access, they would lose access. But what I did is I gave you a link to use this template. So what that basically means is you have a local copy of this on your own Canva, which you own and I have nothing to do with now. You just made a copy and paste of it, basically.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, so you have that for good now. Oops. Okay. So that's it. I ran a bit last time. Next time I'll increase how long the class is, obviously. But thanks, everybody. I'll go ahead and end the class now. Thank you all for coming.